This episode of JJ Meets World is brought to you by Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. Listen, folks, Natalie's got a great track record when it comes to selling homes. On average, she's moving homes for $4,000 or more above the list price, plus she's selling homes in less than the market average. What does that mean for you? It means you don't have to keep your house clean all the time if you're selling it. If you're a buyer, no one wants to wait around for a year, 2 years to find the perfect home. Natalie is going to work her tail off to make sure that she finds you the right home at the right price, and she's going to represent you through the entire buying process. So it's kind of like holding a hand to get across the street. Natalie is going to be that Girl Scout who grabs your hand, pushes the walk button, gets you across the street, and then points you down the street to where you need to go. If you're selling a home, Natalie is an amazing person to represent you. She's going to keep you top of mind on all these search engines, all the stuff that you have to worry about. Don't worry. Natalie's going to take on that headache. You don't have to deal with it. So get a hold of Natalie today, because on average, she sells a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Sometimes Natalie's selling enough property to make you think that she's an entire team herself. But no, she is the Wonder Woman of local real estate agents. Natalie Deutsch, 701-388-9338. You can also get a hold of her via email, Natalie, Natalie, at hatchrealtyfm.com. Or you can go to the Hatch Realty website, livefargomorehead.com. That is livefargomorehead.com. And hey, start packing. G'day, podcast listener. This is your host with the most, JJ Gordon, coming to you on this episode of JJ Meets World. Our guest today is Diane Miller, hip-hop sensation, general awesome person, and very complimentary to your host. So she can come back anytime that she wants. Tucker and I also talk about my dislike for a very popular breakfast pastry that might be even worse than our argument over which is better, an American Tail or an American Tail 5 Goes West, the latter. Sit back and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And remember, you should donate to our Patreon. It's a good thing to do. A couple of bucks here or there. Or if you got a ton of money that you want to give us, that's even better. Patreon.com/JJ Meets World. Enjoy this episode with Diane Miller.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Oh, someone gave me a box of macaroons yesterday. Do you like macaroons?
Oh, goodness. You know, I mean, I know I've eaten one before. I couldn't even tell you what it tastes like.
They're usually, so they look like a fancy version of an Oreo is what I say. They're usually very colorful.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a cream kind of filling, and they're very, like, not soft, but there's like, it's like a crust, but it's like very pushable, so it's soft inside.
Got it.
I just don't like them.
Okay.
I've never gotten into macaroons. When I bite into it, I'm expecting something that's more flavorful than what I ever get. And I understand that they're colorful and they look nice on a plate at a bridal shower.
And I'm trying to understand your situation here. So someone gifted you macaroons. And what do you think made them go, hey, these would be a really good gift for JJ?
Well, my weight, for one thing, is they're like, should we get JJ like a Tybo DVD, or should we get him a box of macaroons?
Are macaroons expensive?
I mean, they're not cheap.
Okay.
So
is it like something where if you think that they thought, well, I can't just get him donuts because that's just too low class?
I also don't like donuts, and I've made that very. Here's the thing.
What did you just say?
I don't like donuts. I've never been a donut fan. Think really hard. When have you seen me eat like a donut?
My mind is racing right now.
Yeah.
What do you have against donuts?
So I don't. Here's the thing. If I'm going to eat a donut, I want a plain
JJ,
cake
I thought
donut.
I knew you.
Yep. Nope, you don't. And here's the thing. I don't think poorly of anyone for enjoying donuts. I think that they should enjoy donuts. I just never, because Tucker, do you know what my number one pet peeve is? The one thing that if I become it drives me mad and crazy and just I get unconsolable.
Catholic?
Sticky. They're homophones.
Sticky. Sticky's the thing you don't want
I
to
hate
get.
being sticky, and it's almost impossible to eat a donut without getting sticky, whether it's sticky around your mouth, sticky on your fingers, sticky on your cardigan, wherever it happens to be.
I've seen you eat ribs, though.
I love ribs.
But your hands get sticky from that.
Yeah, but I'm really good at
See, why don't you just do that with donuts?
Nope. Because the sugariness of the donuts don't seem to come off the same way ribs do. And also, I can eat a whole here's part of the problem, right? When I'm sitting down to eat ribs, I eat a whole rack of ribs. I sit down, that's my meal. I've got my napkin right there. Donuts, people just kind of throw on a table and people take at their leisure. So it's not like I'm sitting down and I've got a napkin with me. Also, most ribs are provided. Shut up. Shut up. You shut your mouth. Ribs are often accompanied with a moist towelette or a hot towel in a small bowl. That's the classy places. Nobody does that with donuts. I guess what I'm getting at here is I just don't like macaroons. Even though they don't make me sticky, I just don't.
It's just a texture and flavor thing.
Yeah,
for that.
Just don't get into them.
Not your low taste.
Right. Correct. It is not my lack of sophistication. But here's the thing. I will buy macaroons if I'm hosting a party because I want to look classy.
Right.
Just like how I will buy both black and green olives, but I'm really only eating the green olives.
By the way, I don't want to make it sound like I don't like cake donuts because I love cake donuts. Like cake donuts with coffee is my jam.
Right.
Like if that would be my breakfast every morning,
I call that the 5-0 special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I feel like I'm going to do something today. Eat this donut, drink this coffee.
Right. Like I feel like I want to walk around and commence with business. I
Yeah,
want to wear a short sleeve shirt with buttons and a tie.
Your stomach isn't heavy after that. It's like,
Correct.
yeah, it's full, but I don't feel like I just ate, I don't know, a whole rack of ribs.
Yeah. We're bordering on our 100th episode, which we're going to record live. I'm going to make sure to bring these macaroons to the recording and people can enjoy them. Now, here's the thing. You'll have to figure out, well, this episode came out on this date and their live episode is on this date. How old are these macaroons? That's math, folks. So I think you guys are going to get a real kick out of this episode, especially if you like the world of hip hop. It has nothing to do with macaroons, although we do talk food just like a smidge during this whole thing. Our guest today is Diane Miller, who's incredibly complimentary to me. So she can come back anytime that she wants.
Diane is someone I've been a fan of for a while, and I was really excited that she was going to be in Fargo because she's based out of Minneapolis now, originally from Fargo. You went to high school with her, right?
Yeah, I was better friends with her older sister, Kate.
Okay.
But Diane's sophomore year was my senior year of high school.
Got it.
And I remember the first day of school, like saying hello to her in the hallway, and then that became our thing throughout the rest of the year. Was we casually said hello to each other in the hallway. And so people were like, oh, how do you know that girl? And I'm like, oh, Diane Miller? Pff, everyone's going to know Diane Miller. And now they do.
Yeah.
So
she's
I'm
fantastic.
a tastemaker.
That's
how it
really
goes.
how it happened. It wasn't just her raw talent and work ethic. It was JJ going, that one.
Diane also tells an amazing story of starting a band with her friend and like the concerts that they put on. This episode's pretty fun, and it delves into the world of hip hop. It delves into the world of creativity. We also talk a little bit about the anxiety of being a person in the 21st century,
but also just music in general. I mean, Diane is a consummate musician in the fact that she not only just loves her craft, but she also seems to take in music from everywhere. So we really talk about the full spectrum of her musical interests and what inspires her, and I loved it.
Patsy Cline. All right, folks. This episode of JJ Meets World features our guest, Diane Miller. Strap in. If you're in a car, you should be wearing your seatbelt. And if you're a child listening to this, hopefully you're in a car seat that's the appropriate size for your age. If not, ask your parents why not. Podcast begin.
JJ Meets World.
A check and a 1 and a 2 and a 3.
Nice, JJ.
Chipmunks, squirrels.
All right, yeah, we've got audio levels. Do you have any other questions? Do you need to use the bathroom quick or anything like that before we start?
I'm my bladder's pretty good. So,
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
I like how you kind of like look down a little bit too. Like, are you
Like,
okay
is it
down there, bladder?
Well, just got to face towards the,
Yeah,
the
right.
area.
Like, everybody's like,
I
are
have
you
a
still
lot of
feeling hurt?
The
I have a
zone.
lot of area problems with this area. Well, just like as far as like it being sensitive.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have,
I've
you have
got
sensitive
problems.
like
I've
tummy?
IBS.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
IBS
ridiculous.
is the worst, and people don't give
Yeah.
that enough credit because you
Yeah.
go from 0 to almost having an accident.
Yes.
Like that.
I know.
I don't have IBS. I have acid reflux disease, and I feel like that might lead to IBS at some point if I'm digesting a lot of stomach acids or something.
I don't know. I feel like it's one of these things that you just suffer with since you're a kid. I mean, I know depression plays a role in it.
Okay.
Like there's so many. It seems to go hand in hand with like being nervous or being.
Gotcha.
Oh, sure.
Anxiety, probably.
Yeah, totally.
That makes
and
sense.
I definitely have some. I mean, I've learned to like cope with it, and I've learned tools and all that jazz and medication, but yeah.
It's hard to describe both anxiety and depression to people who don't feel it because they associate those things with
Yeah.
something that you have total control over.
Well, yeah.
Like you're choosing to do it or
the
something.
number one thing you hear is everybody has anxiety, everybody has depression, and it's just like, yes, that's true. Like everybody experiences the symptoms, but yeah, not everybody has the ability to control it.
Right.
And that's where, medication comes in, or therapy, or all of that jazz.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, JJ, we are now recording.
We're rolling?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We rolled. So now we're rolling. Now let's kick this thing.
Oh, cool. My depression talk today.
Well, it's not the depression talk. I don't know if we'll start with, well, you see, I have IBS.
Yeah.
We probably won't start with that, but we have nothing against talking
I
about
wouldn't
IBS
be
on the show.
opposed. To starting like that. No,
So
I'm kidding.
I'll give us a secondary intro, but this whole thing might play into it.
It might
so
play
like,
into it, too.
Diane Miller,
Sure.
welcome to JJ Meets World.
Hey, thanks
So
for
it'll
having
be
me on.
interesting. People, either they just started an episode,
Yep.
or we had a longer conversation that took place before the intro. So
Yep.
this will be kind of like the Legend of the Hidden Temple episode,
Oh, okay,
where who
okay.
knows what's happening right now.
Very cool. I like that.
Diane, I'm glad that you're here because we keep having guests on who went to Fargo North High.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have another Fargo South High
Represent.
person
Ooh.
here. I didn't boo you when everyone
You
was
boo earns me all the time, dude.
not on you where you went to high school.
Yes, you do.
No.
That's like the main sticking point.
No, I mean I boo you about your high school, but not where you went. I boo you, and I'm like, remember when you put on that play and you like the set fell on you because
Yeah.
you guys were so
So
silly.
you guys were both theater kids, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I was a theater kid for like 1 year, and was too shy to do anything.
Well,
but I remember you specifically. I remember,
Me?
yeah, you like helped Gwen Stark
Yeah.
teach the improv, and
I
I
did.
remember like, yeah, you had this kind of command of like how to be a public speaker and just like a confidence about you.
You
when
can be a guest anytime you want.
It's true though. I
So-
remember like you had this presence about you. You and Jake Harchie were
Yeah.
both kind of like
Jakers, he's a member of my theater company now.
yeah. You guys just ruled. You know.
And I knew your sister. I knew Diane's sister, Kate.
Yep.
She was a grade above me, and I
Yeah.
hung out with her all the time.
Yeah.
And then one day she was like, "Oh yeah, and this is my sister Diane." I'm like, "Whoa, wait, hold on." So this is your sister Diane,
Yep.
and your car, Kate.
Yep.
And I was trying to keep that like straight in my mind all the time because your sister was one of the girls I looked up to as like a
No
person
kidding.
who was their own, like didn't really give a crap about what everyone else thought and did.
Aw.
So much so that I remember her having an argument about being like, video games are not just for guys, and they're
Hell yeah.
what's the Snake was the character in the
Metal Gear
Metal
Solid.
Gear Solid. Yes, we
She-
played that game.
like
Together.
It must have been almost religiously in your house because one day she was like, she's like, Jake Harchie, you shut up. I am way better at Metal Gear Solid than you. And he goes like, what? And we took 2 televisions and someone brought their PS2 over and they played side by side to see who was better. And if I'm not mistaken, your sister whooped Jake because Jake is so cautious about going around the side. And
Still remember the first time we played that game together, and we like first we were just like fiddling with it, and then we couldn't figure out how to get to the next part, and then the moment we were able to beat that first level, we were like, whoa, and then it had this epic intro, and we were like hooked immediately. And yeah, I like playing video games.
Hell yeah.
I
Good.
still do play video games. It's like good.
What are you playing? Are you playing stuff from your childhood or are you playing new stuff?
Well, I bought a PS4 maybe like a year ago, and the first game I bought naturally was Metal Gear Solid, and like the fifth one, and that was fun. So I got to play that. And then I started playing just, nothing too intense, but like just immediate action games where you like, it's called Guns, Gore, and Cannoli. And now I'm playing it on Impossible, and I'm trying to beat it on the hardest difficulty. And because I don't know, I can just space out and just stare and focus on it for how long, I don't know.
Isn't that kind of nice? Like, and you're absorbing part of the storyline and things that are going on, but you don't really need to.
This game, I don't even watch any of the cutscenes. I skip them. I just play just because it's not like Metal Gear Solid where it's this epic action adventure story where like this story is actually really good and the graphics are incredible.
Well, PS1 was where a lot of us got introduced to things like that in the first place, because once you had disc media, you could fit movies onto them and cutscenes and all these other things that cartridge-based media couldn't do. So if you had a PlayStation and you're like, oh my god, Final Fantasy VII is coming out, I cannot wait for that game. Oh my god, oh my god, Metal Gear Solid. Oh my god, it's like a movie.
I'm playing a game right now called Red Dead Redemption 2.
See, I just bought that, but I need to get it. I need to get into it.
Did you play the previous Red Dead Redemption by
I
any
haven't
chance?
at all. It was just one of those, like, I want to, get serious into a new, like, epic, cool game.
So, Red Dead Redemption is my favorite video game of all time.
Oh, wow.
Bar none. I think it is. The storytelling's amazing.
Yep.
The gameplay is fun. It takes you back to the Old West.
Yeah.
So much so that when I watch a Western movie now, I'm just like, I kind of want to go play Red Dead Redemption.
Because it's like you're controlling the movie.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Because there's the morality meter on it. So like if you do things that are bad, like you're constantly robbing people, it makes you infamous. And then if you become the popular guy that everyone's asking for help if you keep doing your chivalry things. But I will say this about Red Dead Redemption 2. Their goal to make it the most like lifelike video game where your choices affect how the gameplay goes is amazing, with the exception of they may have gone a little too far. Because,
that's what I thought.
Yeah. So have you started playing this?
It's like, well, that was my initial reaction. I was just like, most of the game, I've just been following this guy and along a horse, along trails. I'm like, I want to play some action.
Right.
That was my first thought. I'm like, I need to play.
Is there no fast travel between points?
So there is a fast travel, but it's not incredibly great.
So many long dialogue scenes.
Right. And part of the problem, I think, with it is they were like, they reward you for doing things like bathing. So if you, I know that sounds weird.
So
but
it's like that's kind of like boring.
Right, it is. Like I don't want to see him and like every 6 or 7 days you need to trim your beard. And choices like if you kill, first of all, like have you had the chance to hunt yet? And like skin an animal?
Yes, I've done that once, yeah.
Yeah, that's messed up in this one. Like it is ultra lifelike. So much so that when you put something like over your shoulder to go put it on your horse, it leaves like a big blood stain, and then people treat you differently in the town if you've got this big blood stain.
Oh my gosh, these are all intricacies I haven't learned about yet.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, you'll get 50 hours into this game. So it is, because I mean the world is so immense and so amazing, and you find all these little side missions. But like I'm 55 hours into the game, and I recently just looked at this and like you've completed 6% of the game, and I was like, oh my god,
goodness.
I don't know if I have the time or patience.
See, I'm down for that because I remember the Final Fantasy days on PS1 and 2, and you'd be putting at least 30 to 40 hours into the game, and I remember getting to that point going, God, I wish there was more for me to do. And so now the notion that I could be 50 hours in and only be 5% done with the whole
that makes you go,
But now I have to buy a PS4, a 4K TV, and the game. So I don't have any of that stuff right now.
It also has the problem of everything, like in this game, is the text is really small. So I find myself having to sit closer to the television to be able to read the text. And my mother would have just been so angry about me like pulling a chair up to the TV so I could see a little closer.
Yeah, it hurt your eyes. I'd like to pick up on something that you had said a little bit earlier, which was that you would try to do a little bit of theater, but you were really shy You were in your
Yes.
shell. And I
Yeah.
remember, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, reading an article some point in time
Uh-huh.
in the beginning of your music career where you were saying music was essentially the vehicle through which you were able to get out of your shell. For me,
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
theater. For JJ, that was doing theater.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
could you kind of talk to us a little bit about how that journey started
Yeah.
for you to get out of your shell and to embrace music?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've just struggled with self-confidence issues, and that's like, since I was young, and so it was crippling pretty much, being so shy, and yet knowing I had like these special abilities but not being able to really execute them, because I could I noticed that I had special abilities like with dancing and singing, especially by myself, and I'd be like, wow, if I could just do this in front of people, like I just know it would crush. and then I'd immediately get myself into a social situation, and I'd feel inferior. I'd feel all these things. I was really hard on myself. I've always had a really gnarly inner critic, and I guess growing up, maturing, all plays a process in getting to that point. Learning and having really great friends and role models. It's not even just music. Like sports was one thing that actually helped me as well, and because I was really good at basketball and I was on the cross country and track team, and had really great teammates that were really cool. Had a really great coach. A lot of people know him, Dave Tack.
Yeah.
Like people like that, you don't realize. And I can still look back and I can think of my just great role models I had in my life that actually like played such an enormous role in like keeping me motivated and inspired. And yeah, I can think of my gym teacher from elementary school. And it's funny because with music, I didn't do music in high school. I was mostly, I called myself a closet musician, and I like to blog about music and keep up on my Zanga page and just like listen to music religiously on Rhapsody, which was the, Spotify before Spotify was a thing. And so, yeah, and when I perform in front of people and music, even just listening to it can give me feelings of like empowerment and feeling better about myself and just feeling good and being able to escape from any daily troubles, and music is one of those things that does it above just about everything in life. I mean, there's so many great things that I enjoy about life: good company, good presence with people, and sports and games, hand-eye coordination things. But yeah, music has transformative power over me.
So how did you make that leap from blogging about music that you're listening to on Rhapsody to live performance?
Good question.
Thank you.
So I've always had.
You're really building JJ up
Yep.
today, big time.
What can I say? It's easy to build up. So I started playing guitar in middle school. So one of my best friends and I like had a band called Banana Soop. So we were.
Banana
so I know.
Soup?
So I knew how
That
to play
is a
guitar.
great band name.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't SOUP. It was SOOP.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, we were huge dorks. We were such nerds, and she was also Filipino, and I'm half Filipino, but she was full Filipino and 100%. And we were both like weird nerds, and anyway, so we had that band, and I've just always played guitar, and then came to college, and I was like, and I had no idea what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. But I knew that music was kind of, again, my passion. So I went to school for music, and then I started dating a guy, and he introduced me to all these people and that also played music, because he was in a live band, Johnson Family Band, and so then I started, starting playing, and because I used to go out to their shows all the time, and it was so inspiring, and that's really such a huge part of getting out and being motivated to be a performer is actually seeing other people doing it, and then being like, I can do that too, or I would love to do that. Or
when
that
you go
makes
to a
me
show,
happy.
When you go to a show and you wish you were on stage, that's when you know that there's a calling there.
Yeah. And that's what I just knew. I remember Randy Olson. I think you guys both know Randy
Oh, she's
Olson.
been on the podcast.
Yeah.
In fact, she's invited us to be on her podcast. And I was just thinking the other day, like, I don't know anything about self-care. Like, I barely got dressed today.
Yeah, I ate McDonald's 4 days in a row last week, so I don't know if I can talk about self-care.
I remember when she moved back to Fargo, like I ran into her and I told her about my how inspiring she was for me one year, because she like sang in front of the whole like class auditorium at Fargo South High, and
with her guitar,
and people were just going nuts for her, and I was just like so inspired by that. And I remember like getting my friend Megan Gramlow to do it with me one year, and I think it was like not pizzazz, but it was like a variety show with all the theater kids.
Confetti or razzmatazz?
Yes.
Jeez.
These are all great names.
Confetti was one of the longest running sketch shows.
It was a lip sync contest. No, it was a lip sync contest.
While the judges were out collaborating, you would go up there and perform. That was pretty common at Fargo South.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyways, just those little things have made a difference, seeing people perform and being so inspired by that and feeling like I have that ability to do that too, and I knew that would be something I'd want to do. And here I am now.
I dig the name Banana Soup.
Yeah.
I just dig band names though. And yesterday at work, an email came through to the company, and the subject line was forgotten tuna packets. And someone had forgot some packets of tuna in this one room, and they'd been sitting there for a week. And they were like, could you please come claim your forgotten tuna packets? And I thought, Forgotten Tuna Packets isn't a terrible band name.
Right.
I wouldn't mind starting that band.
The Banana Soup came from, we loved this game called Bullshit, and we would play it around my grandma. Yeah.
So it's like...
So we didn't want to say bullshit. We'd be like, but we're like, oh, what are some other like ways we could? What is another BS? I'm like, oh, Banana Soup.
That's brilliant. Actually, I like that a lot.
Did you guys ever play any gigs?
Yes, we played a couple gigs, and
Whereabouts?
they were all home gigs. You know,
Oh,
yeah. We
yeah.
had friends come over, and I remember like the second time we had a concert, it was in my basement, and all Catherine's friends, Kate's friends came, and it was like the most nerve-wracking thing because she had, she was kind of popular, and so she had all like these like cute
She
boys
hung out with
over.
me, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Keep describing the guy she hung out with.
I know,
right?
right?
Mhm. Cute boys, smell
She did.
good.
She had,
They
like,
were all
cute,
great
but
public
they were like,
speakers.
yeah. And then I remember one person asking me like, "Can you play Dave Matthews Band?" And I was like, "Dave Matthews Band sucks." And then he walked out of the room, but I think he's just being kind of funny. But
I'm sorry, crash.
Isn't that funny?
To me, you and me together.
And I guess, I can't thoroughly shit on them. I've never been a Dave Matthews.
No, I'm cool with you shitting on them. That's
Here's
fine.
the thing. So
they're kind of easy to shit on.
crapped on Dave Matthews for a long time until one of my buddies was like, listen, you need to come to the show. And he had seen Dave like 15 times. I'm like, that is fucking ridiculous. You've wasted so much money. Yeah. And then he came to 10,000 Lakes, and I went to that show, and I'm like, garbage. And so my friend finally said, listen, if I pay for the ticket, will you fly out to Chicago with me and go to a Dave Matthews show?
Really?
And I said, okay, I'll do that. The Dave Matthews concert experience is unique in the fact that, like, the people who are there love Dave Matthews. And everyone, like, you walk around and you'll say, like, 15. They'll be like, 26. And they'll be like, 9, 2, 1. And they, this is your first time at a Dave Matthews concert? And they come from all over the place. It is just, and the concerts, like, it's a jam band, but nothing really changes that much. Like, he's got a collection of 25 songs, and it's going to be one of those 25 songs. And then he'll play 3 nights in a row, so you know you're going to see all 25 songs during that 3-night stint.
I think it's cool that like a subculture builds up around the following of a fan,
Right.
or a following of a band. So I saw Ween twice last year, once in the cities and once in Moorhead, and I remember going, "Oh, I saw that guy. Oh, I remember that guy. He was dancing with that cape at the St. Paul. Oh, I remember those two. They were making out there too."
Yes,
You know?
the bands with the religious followings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and that they can play and people can just come and just never get bored with it and just always be excited and just it's like it must be like a thrill-seeking thing almost.
Yeah, or
Well, I know with Fish, Fish heads and
Right.
Grateful Dead heads, they all have that. It's just like, whoa, they just want to get lost in their music and.
right.
And I think it's about that community experience, right?
Yeah.
So like with the Deadheads, the people who crammed into vans and traveled across the country, the music is a big part of it. The music is what brings everyone together, but it's the everyone that keeps people there and is a part of it. And I think that's kind of what the Dave Matthews fans have really lashed onto, to the point of where I have now seen Dave Matthews 14 times.
Oh my gosh!
Yep. I mean, I have
13 times since that first one.
No, I don't even count the first one because I left midway through the concert being like, this is garbage. I consider like 14 times as a fan. And we're talking coast to coast.
I love this.
I have seen him on 2 coastlines, the Gulf of Mexico.
You know how I know you are a fan of DMB? Because you call him Dave. You're like, yeah, what I saw Dave at the...
Yeah, like he's your friend.
Like you know him. Me and Dave, just hanging out with Dave today.
I'm also a huge fan of Carter Buford, who is the drummer for Dave Matthews. I will watch... I call him Bufy. I will watch Bufy through the whole show because he is playing his heart out and he's got this huge smile the whole time. And I'm like, he is just... Even though he's done this show 10,000 times, he is stoked to be there and be a part of it, and he's just having a blast, and he's finding new reasons to love what he's doing every single concert, and I find that to be just like that's one
like
of the
best
coolest
life.
things.
That's the best life you can have is like when you're doing your job and you love being there and you love playing and you're just crushing it. That's the best life, and I think that's like. And he's, as a drummer, if you're playing with dope musicians and playing in front of a hungry audience, gosh, there's nothing better than that. It's the best feeling.
On the homepage of Dave Matthews' website.
Yeah.
One time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's me.
You can see
it's a shot of Dave, like,
you can see
turning away from the crowd, like, doing something, and you can see me in the background, and you can tell it's me. And I mean, for them being focused on Mr. Matthews, I'm being too informal apparently. But music has that ability, right? Music has the ability to, even though I could listen to a CD at home, I want to have that live experience. There are very few things that exist in this world where you need to be there live.
Right.
Absolutely. So if you were to build the Mount Rushmore of Diane's favorite music, or musicians, I should say, artists, musical artists, like who would be on your personal Mount Rushmore?
You get 4 faces.
4 faces.
Only 4?
And they're just based off of your own interests.
See, that's so hard. Because this can change within.
Is there any obvious choices?
I get it that it's a really fascinating question because music, my music's unique and I'm very heavily influenced by the artists I love. I keep the one that keeps going to my head is Bob Dylan.
Oh, of course, got to worship at the altar of Bob Dylan.
I mean, that's like such an easy answer too. It is.
I don't think that that's true for everybody though.
It's not true for everybody. I'm not going to say that, but he's still an easy answer because he's so incredible. And and some people enjoy him more than others. I get it, but yeah, he is so incredible. Like that's a type of artist that I revere. Is like an artist who has his own voice,
who's instantly distinguishable.
Absolutely. Who knows how to craft a song and a melody like very well. And then also to be able to deliver that melody through poeticism that is so timeless. Like some of the things he sings about are so timeless, and they still are relevant today. And the fact that his music can live on, the fact that he's Minnesotan, is so cool. And I mean, he's not Minnesotan. He was born in Hibbing or something like that. And
but he lived in Fargo for a summer.
He lived in Fargo for a
Greg,
summer.
Greg Carlson's old house.
But yeah, I mean, and as far as someone who just goes back, so anyways, Bob Dylan. My gosh, you guys, I'm a big rap fan, and this is going to open a can of worms when I say this next artist, and it's Kanye West is one of my favorite artists.
We can separate the art from the crazy person. For
That's
certain.
the thing is,
So.
Yeah, people do go crazy.
They kind of goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, and now he's completely I remember calling it out too, before his latest record came out, which is where he kind of openly admits that he's bipolar.
Right.
So I was like, oh my gosh, he's so bipolar. And as someone who has relationships with people that are bipolar, it makes a lot of sense to me. But anyways, yeah, Kanye, for me, he's an excellent lyricist, and he also is a creative mind. So I guess to me, what he's done with rap music is transformed it into more than just background music, because that people rap over. Because you listen to a lot of the old school rap music, it's just a loop. It's just a repeating really funky ass groove. And
they're using the tools that were available to them at the time, which were the old records their parents had.
Yeah.
And turntables, because they,
Yeah. And with Kanye, he's always able to reinvent himself and reinvent different ways of how he can make hip hop creative and his own and yeah, and beautiful. His songwriting, his crafting, his producing is incredible to me. And yeah, he's one of those artists where I can just listen to over and over again, and that's one reason why I can know that I love artists, is because they're just, music never gets old to me.
Right.
And I know it is a certain thing to separate the artist from their craziness and their unlikable quality. Sometimes I compare it to even being okay, well, there's a lot of artists that we like out there that are physically violent and they're awful people. Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yep.
Wasn't
I was thinking about that while we were having this discussion. I'm like,
yeah.
I wonder if anyone's going to bring up Jerry Lee Lewis and his amazing boogie woogie piano, but his downright awfulness as a human being outside the concert.
I mean, David Bowie admitted to having sex with 14-year-olds.
Yeah, that's another thing.
I mean, that, I think, I wonder if part of that, though, is that when we're listening to the art or we're taking in the art, we're bringing something to that experience, too.
Exactly.
So that song means something to you, and that is the thing that you're enjoying, is what you're bringing to that, what that artist is bringing, versus Kanye just walking around talking on TMZ. That's just Kanye. That you don't have anything to bring to that, to him saying something insane.
Yeah. And I know, gosh, but he really tests you as a fan continuously, especially with the Trump things and the, the slavery is a choice thing. It's just oh God, really?
That was a pretty sweet meeting though in the Oval Office, where even Trump is like, "Sheesh, this guy's kind of crazy."
Yeah. But yeah. So, anyways, he's one of them. I know, and it's
understandable though.
Yeah,
I mean, he's brilliant.
He really is. I know, and I feel some people are just how can you even possibly? I don't get it. No, I don't get it. And I think I get people's barriers, and I understand that. And, but I also get my own tastes and what I love. So yeah, he's definitely, oh gosh, who else is up there? I in high school, I grew up listening to a lot of indie rock and emo before it, got became like Fall Out Boy emo. Like I grew up with bands like Braid and Sunny Day Real Estate and the Get Up Kids, and I even liked some like hardcore. This is nothing to brag about, but I liked this band called Thrice. I thought for some reason I was just super into them, and it's angsty music.
Okay.
And I think it kind of spoke to me at that time of being angsty.
I had a big ska phase.
Yeah.
So no judgment whatsoever.
I listened to a lot of Garth Brooks back in the day.
Garth Brooks is dope.
I still like Garth Brooks.
I like him in limited quantities.
Do you?
Yeah.
What's your
Limited
favorite
quantities.
Garth Brooks song?
Probably Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up.
Yeah.
Because that one's fun to sing. 'cause
Ain't
it's-
going down to the sun.
And you have to like take a deep breath before you say a lot of it. I like that song.
Yeah.
Let it get your dead head back in bed before the morning.
Yeah, I love folk music and traditional country music. I love it. Like Patsy Cline is a hero of mine.
the good old twangy country.
Oh, yeah. I can just eat that up all day. But yeah, as far as like modern artists, oh man,
What are your thoughts on Brother Ali?
Brother Ali. So, I grew up with more radio hip hop, and not that he's not radio, but he's more of that in that underground scene, along with Atmosphere,
Right.
along with POS, all those guys. That was not stuff I grew up with. I grew up with Busta Rhymes, B.I.G., Jay-Z, Tribe Called Quest. The Tribe Called Quest would be definitely on the top for me too. And Brother Ali, those Doomtree guys I don't know, for some reason I never paid that much attention to it. And a lot of my friends were like, how have you not gotten into Atmosphere or whatever? And I'm just like, I don't know why. It just didn't speak to me as much. Looking at their music now, and especially being a Minneapolis resident, I've learned to appreciate them and see like what they're made of. And D Mills and the Thrills got to open for Brother Ali this past summer, and
Sweet.
Good for you. It's sweet.
I remember I saw Brother Ali for the first time, and I didn't know anything about him, and I saw but my friend took me to him. You got to see Brother Ali, and I'm like, okay. And then I just remember feeling blown away by his presence and the quality of his voice and the way that he can flow so effortlessly and just beautifully. But yeah, and he had such command of the room. It was so cool to see, and it was so inspiring.
That was the first
Yeah.
time that hip hop spoke to me. Was Brother
Brother
Ali.
Ali?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's
and
cool.
I'll pay anything if he gets near me to go see a show. Like
Yeah.
I love that guy, and I agree he does command the
Mm-hmm.
stage when he's up there, and not in a "give me your attention, everybody" type
Like,
way.
hey, and ho, I know.
Yeah, he's commanding it in that he just like
To the wall.
Yeah. He's just like a master of his craft that you can't help but get sucked in.
He's so good. He's so smooth. Yeah, and I remember after seeing him at the aquarium, this might have been like 5 years ago, I bought a couple of his songs, and I was just like, yeah, this dude's dope. I'm
Beauty
really
Tips,
into it.
according to Forrest Whitaker, is like that plays on repeat in my car during the summer.
Nice. Yeah.
Back in 2006, I made this short movie called Mercedes Ray versus the Presidents of the United States of America. And
I was in that.
JJ was in it. He
Several roles.
played President Taft and the gorilla at the end
And
of
the
the
gorilla.
movie. And POS has this song called Teddy Bear and a Taser that I really like.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use it for this scene where the premise was a bunch of U.S. presidents use time travel to hang out in the present and throw a party.
Yeah.
And so there was going to be the party scene, like the montage, and I wanted Teddy Bear and a Taser to play over it.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting to use it because I emailed POS and said, hey, I'm just this young filmmaker. I'm going to make this movie. I'm not charging anything for it. I'm just going to put it out there. Would it be okay if I use that song? And
Yeah.
he just wrote back and said, yeah, go for it.
Awesome.
And yeah, which was great. But I don't have that email anymore. And I've always thought about going back and sort of like refinalizing the movie so I could have a version out there that people could watch. But I still want that song because I cut that scene to that song and it works perfectly for that.
Cool.
So now I got to find like POS again and be like, hey, you probably don't remember this, but 12 years ago I emailed you and you gave me permission to use this song. I wonder
Wow,
if
that
I
was
could get
way
permission
long
again.
ago.
Position,
You never know.
Yeah, can I please?
So, Diane, your style of performance is really unique. And I want to also say, you talk about being somebody who's kind of introverted and like having to come out of that shell.
Yep.
You do a lot of like video stuff too, where people can watch you as you're working through it.
Yeah.
And that's got to be tough because we live in a world where the haters love to hate online, and yet it doesn't seem to stop you. And I know you get a lot of love for it, and people really enjoy it. But to me, it takes 100 people really enjoying it to overcome that one guy who's like, "This is garbage." And that sucks. I wish I didn't give those people that much power, but it's hard to get past it.
I know. I've learned to just know that that's kind of just part of the process. They're just like, if you look at it, I mean, it happens to everybody. Is people who are incredible at what they do, and and sometimes like. It is part of the process, is knowing that you're going to have haters and you're going to have people who think you suck. And it's like, but yeah, that shouldn't ever stop anyone from doing anything. And I post videos in just an effort to get people to come to shows, it's a valuable promotional tool. I think we got, like 300 some people. I hope so.
Awesome.
Out last night at the show, and just knowing what people can preview and expect is such a valuable thing. And I've gotten confident enough in my abilities to say to say this is really good and it's worth sharing. And I've gotten enough encouragement from people who are in the industry that are like, Diane, you're valuable, you're worth something, you're really great. Like, and even just people who come up to me after shows and they're like, oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration, I love what you do. It's like it means the world to me to hear all that stuff, and it really does inspire me to keep going. But yeah, I know a lot of the motivation I need it comes from within, and yeah, part of me just knows that like promoting and just putting yourself out there is really such a big part of being a performer. And so not to say I don't have my struggles. I want to put out a record so badly, and I'm just like, a lot of it's money issues. It's like, and I'm like, why haven't I made a Kickstarter or something like that? I kick myself in the foot for not having done stuff like that, because that is scary to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you about your transition from Fargo to Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
So you're part of the Minneapolis community now. And not that you're no longer a part of the Fargo music community, but there's a change, and there's a need for that change.
Yeah.
Talk us through that, because let's face it, you had a pretty good thing happening here in Fargo.
Yeah.
You're pretty much at the ceiling of where you were going to be as far as a Fargo-based artist.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning you had met the ceiling of the audience that was here, not the ceiling of your own ability.
Oh,
right. Yes.
No, yeah, of course.
Right.
It was a compliment, but I'm not as good as you complimenting me.
Oh, whatever. I'll take it. Yeah. Fargo. I love Fargo, and I love the community here. It's like, it's such a home, and it's like I've learned to really enjoy the city so much. And then, but also, yeah, I do. I've wanted to move to Minneapolis because there are more opportunities out there for musicians, and like music is my passion, and I do want to grow, and I want to see what I can do with myself and be amongst other talented artists. Not to say that Fargo isn't loaded with talent, because we are, and like my band is so good, the Thrills are so good. They're so talented. We've been, together for 7 years, and we've gotten so tight, and just all the players in it. Steve Wallivan on the trombone, so good. I could go on about each member, and then even other members in the community. But next to Minneapolis, it's like Fargo is very minuscule, and that's just a reality. And I mean, because we're talking about, the same city that produced Prince. Not that the city produced Prince, but like, you know, was his hometown, like Prince. And
when he landed
Soul
here
Asylum
from like another planet, he decided to land in,
yeah, exactly.
inside the mother that he found in this state, but for sure.
Yeah, Bob Dylan spent a lot of time there, and even just artists like rhyme sayers, you know, their presence in Minneapolis, the hip hop scene in Minneapolis is so dope, and it's so uplifting to be around so many amazing artists. It's so inspiring. I feel like my craft is already building, you know, as a performer. I feel like I'm continually getting better and better, and just because it's like every night I can go out and see like just some of the best musicians in the Midwest, and it's really cool. I'm working in a venue called Ice House in Minneapolis, and we host like so many great artists. Roma DeLuna played there recently. We had this jazz drummer named Joey Barron that came through recently. We have classical artists that come through too. The St. Paul Chamber Orchestra plays there. And then we also have like just dirty raw hip hop, and then experimental noise shows like the Marijuana Death Squads. And so I've seen all these artists, and within the 4 or 5 months that I've lived there, and it's I love it. I love being in Minneapolis, and I love that it's not far from Fargo, you know.
So do you feel sort of do you feel a calling to be kind of an ambassador for Fargo, so that when you're talking to people in the Twin Cities and they're saying like, well, we need to get out, we want to do a show outside of the Twin Cities, you can be like, have you guys thought about Fargo?
Totally.
Oh, that one horse podunk town, and you can kind of correct the narrative a little bit.
Hey, Johnny Lang came from here.
Yes, you guys.
That's true, but you know he claims he's from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Lawrence Welk is from North Dakota. And look at how many like careers he kickstarted.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of whistlers out there.
Yeah, a lot of them. Leslie Bibb is also from Bismarck originally, and she went on to do a bunch of great stuff. She's in 2 Iron Man movies. But, I mean, do you find that? Do you find that you're out there and you kind of evangelize a little bit for Fargo?
Yes. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I'm always like, oh, my God, it would be so cool if these artists came to Fargo. And, like, yeah. But part of the struggle in Fargo is getting people out.
True.
I worked for the aquarium for a number of years, and gosh, we brought in so many amazing artists, and some artists didn't get the audience that they deserved. You know.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot to that. You know, I think there's a lot to that, and one idea I had was that we need more local bands that are just killing it, that team up with these artists that come through and help get people out. Because I think that's one of the biggest things is having. I remember like when Johnson Family Band was on the scene. There's probably other artists. I'm just using Johnson Family Band as a reference, but like, you know, they were such a huge band with such a following.
Right,
so
you could add them to the bill, and you knew that you had a great following coming just for that.
Yeah.
We'll stick around, and then
we got Trampled by Turtles to come through. We got the Hackensack Boys to come through. We got Pertnier to come through a lot. And now Pertnier has a fantastic following here.
Oh my God!
You know?
And boy, do I love that group.
I do too.
Were you out at the first ever that High Plains Festival that they tried at the Soop Ranch? That was
fun.
such a great idea, and I'm so sad that it didn't become what it could have been.
That's what I have stirring in my head all the time. I'm like, we should do like a Fargo music festival, and I would love to help curate that. The only thing is like time and money, but that's the biggest hurdle because I would just love to do that. If I had the time and money to do it, I would
where
love
it doesn't
to
cost you $75 for the ticket to it for 2 days.
I know.
Where you can get like a $20 ticket. It'll get you general admission access for 2 days.
Yeah.
You can see as many bands as you want or as few, and just get lost in it.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Diane, you decide to do that, you let me know, because I've got some ideas that I've wanted to do for years. And really, you add some headline talent to that.
Yeah.
Some big names to kind of, sell that extra 250 tickets that you really need to push.
Yeah.
But it's a great opportunity for local groups. I remember talking with a group that they used to play it. Do you remember the Trentino?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can't remember the name of it, but they used to play at the Trentino all the time. And they had a couple of shows where they had worked with like the Hold Steady, and then being on a poster, you know, like the Hold Steady with opening act blank. That goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
It kind of builds up some street cred, especially when you're trying to get other places to book you.
Yeah.
So from your experience, like as a booker at the aquarium, percentage wise, how many times were you reaching out to people and how many times were people reaching out to you?
I get asked that all the time, but it's so, of course, mostly like it's easiest to book with when you're booking with what comes to you because they have the dates right, what you need, you know? So it feels like 50-50 sometimes. And it can depend on the time. There's times when it's just like, it's just a hard time of year, like a January, when you just really got to go out and search for the bands that will come through. But yeah, there's definitely some efforts that needs to be made, like reaching out and being like, oh, hey, is this band's on tour? Let's contact their manager and see if we can get them to, you know, book their tour through here. But that can be tricky, and it's just, you don't always have luck with that.
Were you working with other venues too to say like, listen, like, you know, play us on a Friday and then I got a contact for you in Bismarck on a Saturday, and like
not a lot, yeah.
Almost like a circuit type thing.
Yeah. I know there's promoters that do that, but I was mainly focused on getting them booked at the aquarium. And yeah, and it was like I went into the aquarium not really having booking experience. My experience is I have experience of being a band, like managing my own band, and but yeah, I learned fast, and being a fan of the aquarium, being a person who went there religiously, helped me along the way. And yeah, and there's lots of things that I think there's demand for more certain styles of music that were brought in before. And yeah, there's definitely some challenges I had along the way. And now the new promoters are doing pretty well so far. So I'm hoping that they keep it up and bring in the really cool indie, like alternative type style, because that's kind of that's our bread and butter at the aquarium. We bring in lots of different styles of music, but it was definitely like it started on a punk rock vibe, you know, and that's what it should continue to do, you know.
I loved when the aquarium would have the offhand comedy night where they'd bring in like Tim Heidecker.
Yes.
And,
every time Neil Hamburger comes into town, I was out of town, and it killed me, especially because last time he came here with Heidecker, and I need to see those two.
It was really good.
It's such a great vibe up there.
Yeah.
And there's something, I was never part of that scene when I was in high school, because I had a couple friends who had bands.
Bryce.
Was Bryce's band's name?
Bryce Richardson.
Midas
Midas Touch was one, but what was the one? Brookdale.
Brookdale.
Literally, they were like, let's name it. Okay, what? They opened a phone book and they put their finger in it. It was Brookdale Liquors.
Yeah,
and so that's how they got
building
to
near
the name
them.
Brookdale.
Kidding.
That's right.
So I would go to. They
Did
played.
you hang out with the Sleeping in Gethsemane guys at all?
I did not.
I know those guys. Yep, Brandon.
Brandon, and the third guy. I can remember the other two because they're both named Brandon.
But at that time, like, if you wanted to have if you were a local band like them, especially a high school age band where you knew that your opportunities for performances were limited to outside of the general bar area, there was that little was All-Star Bowl.
All-Star Bowl,
All-Star Bowl would
VFW
host
basement.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there were these places that you'd go to see these shows that were so much fun and always so sweaty and smelled just awful.
First time I smelled weed was in the VFW basement.
Was it?
At a metal concert down there. Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the band?
Oh no, I mean there were five different bands, and they each got up and they each went the whole time. So I couldn't tell you which one was which. But I remember going, what does that smell? That doesn't smell like cigarettes.
It's a jazz cigarette.
And I want to give props. I want to give props to the music scene right now, because it actually, I can't speak highly about it enough. You know, we got really great artists, and I'm a little bit sad that Free Truman's moving away. But yeah, those were one of my favorite bands. I love Troy Guion and all his projects. Gals, he's got a project called, and they're so good. I wish, you know. Stovepipes are one of those younger up and coming bands. Jessica Vines is a really amazing soul singer. Soul, jazz, pop kind of singer that's just got this voice of such beautiful intonation and touch. And
do we have an underground recording studio in Fargo, or only like the big name, like the Video Arts? Like,
Yeah.
Is there a place that's recording anybody these days in Fargo?
Yes, Video Arts is one of them. Media Productions is another. And then a lot of people have their own home studios. So
It's so much easier to build a home studio now than it used to be.
yeah,
Way easier now.
totally.
And you don't have to get like all three of your parents together to like
Right.
chip in
And
for
there's only,
Christmas. And
depending on how many
birthday
tracks
money.
you need, there's only so much production you really need. And there's also a great market just for, the first band that I ever cared about as a kid was Ben Folds 5.
Nice.
And Whatever and Ever Amen, they just recorded in Ben's dining room with just microphones up, and they just did the best they could. And it
Isn't
still
that
sounds
something?
great.
Such a good record.
It's an amazing
Yeah.
record, and it sounds fantastic. And so you can make so much with so little as long as you have the expertise to know how to use the tool
Yeah.
to do it. But yeah, from there on, you can, because otherwise you're paying for studio time, which is super expensive.
Oh my gosh, I know. That's what daunts me about it so much, is the cost. And yeah, studios make me nervous too. I love being a live performer. I'm really good at that.
I'm trying to remember his name. He mastered, I think, 1 or 2 Nirvana albums, but he never took a cut. He was this producer who, God damn, I'm blanking on his name now, but he actually is broke right now because he would refuse to take a cut of he would only say a flat fee, and that was it. And
No
that was a
kidding.
philosophical stance that he took, was that I shouldn't be
Oh.
taking a cut of your work. And so,
Oh.
like, Dave Grohl's like, dude, you could be way better off right now. And I found out about him because he plays poker. I used to work in poker TV.
Oh,
And
interesting.
he talked about how, I didn't run into him, but I met a guy who knows him, and he would talk about how there were times where whether or not the electricity was going to be on in the studio was whether or not how well he would do at poker that night.
yeah.
Versus, like, dude, you recorded all these amazing albums. You should be a millionaire right now.
Wow.
But he just chose not to, which I thought was interesting.
That's honorable in a lot of ways.
I'm gonna look up his name.
But yeah,
Just give the
Dang.
I'm sure he listens to this podcast.
So what happens when people look up to you now, Diane Miller, and they approach you after a show saying, I've always wanted to do something like this. What advice can you give me? Or is
First,
like, JJ, stop asking me that question and get out of
Steve Albini, that's his name. Sorry.
Albini? That is
Albini.
a great name.
Yeah. I was thinking it's not Butch Vig because he did Nevermind, but it was the guy before Butch Vig.
there's so much advice to give. There's like, it's endless. Because for one, you gotta love it. You really do. You can't, it shouldn't feel like a job, and you shouldn't, especially starting out, you shouldn't be so preoccupied with making money off of it, and like, I mean, going off of what that guy said, especially when you start, it's just like, make sure you're doing it because you love it and that it's bringing you joy, and you're not doing it to make money, and that you go into the scene thinking that you're going to live a comfy life making money. It's a hustle. It's a real hustle. You gotta sacrifice your ego a lot, and especially working with band members, it's just like, it's tough. Like, it's wonderful being in a band, but it's also a lot of work, just like communications and getting everyone on the same page, getting people to show up to a rehearsal, and then just, writing songs together and having everything come together. It's a lot of work. It's very rewarding. And it's if it's something that you really would want to put the effort into, and that you are dedicated about it, and you love music so much that it moves you, yeah, I say go for it,
What's the instrument that when you hear someone play it, you go like, oh my God, yes, and you turn it up a little bit more?
Voice. It's always voice.
Always voice?
Yeah. Always.
Anything in particular that you like that people do with the voice?
It's so much just it's so much based around tone and delivery. Like, there's a certain like way people can sing that will just hit me, and Not to say like the bands and the instruments don't make a difference, but yeah, I'm a vocalist, so I really pay a lot of attention to the voice. And I was listening to Jack Klatt, and this is a not that well-known artist, but around, nationwide, but he's well-known in the Twin Cities, and he's got a voice that sounds just like Buddy Holly. And the way that he presents it, and the way that he has control over his voice, and the way that he can, his intonation's so good, and the way that he melds the lyrics with the voice, so it just like is absolute perfection, and you can just sit and listen to it and just get lost. That's my favorite kind of show to go to.
I remember being slapped in the face the first time I saw a live show of Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Oh, God.
Because what she was doing with her voice, I was like, ho, ho, ho.
I know,
She is
all
just-
the vocal inflections and tricks, and I can get in that too, It's like, especially when it's done well, Like a Sharon Jones is going to crush it when she does all those crazy melismas. I listen to a show like The Voice, and I hear people go a little bit over the top, and sometimes that's just irritating to me. But yeah, when people know how to use their talent to the best of their abilities, and they really harness what they're good at, that's when it's so good. And I mean, I've gotten into jazz as well, moving to Minneapolis, and I can really I think drummers are I love watching a good drummer.
Mm-hmm. A jazz drummer is just amazing.
Yeah.
You go back and you watch videos of what Buddy Rich was doing back in the day, and you go
Right.
I know. Yeah, there's incredible scene in Minneapolis for free jazz and just really experimental, raw, noisy stuff, where just people have such incredible command of their instruments. But yeah, every Monday night at Ice House, this venue I work out at, brings in some of these just ridiculous jazz players, and I feel fortunate to be able to just go watch that for free. But yeah, JT Bates is a name of a drummer out there, where you just watch him and he's just no two ideas are the same. He's just always continually producing new sounds, and but making it sound so good with the musicians he plays with. It's so nice. It's so great to hear.
My buddy Tony Magnol, former guest on the podcast, our heavy metal episode, he's a metal guy.
Yeah.
And he's been in metal bands, and metal is his thing.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that got me to sit down and actually listen to heavy metal, to some stuff where unless you're, it's easy to go, oh, that sounds just like noise and screaming and whatever.
Yeah.
But he would go and he'd break some stuff down for me and show me the instrumentation that's going on. The thing that blew me away, though, were heavy metal drummers.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of this, I'm doing a one time signature over on this side and a different time signature over on this side, and something different down here too.
Yeah.
And
They
some
play
of those
so fast.
to the point that it actually gave me an anxiety attack at the Nestor when I went and watched Tony's band open for another band, and I can't remember what the band was. And of course, I was a little drunk, smoked a little weed, so I was a little bit impaired too while I was there. But then when this other band came up, their music was so intense, and I was feeling it in my sternum. I could feel the pounding of the bass and the drums in there, that I actually went, I have to leave. I can't take this anymore. This is pretty crazy.
That is metal's intention.
It is.
It's so.
It
that's what I've
is.
learned.
It's
like that's what they want. They want you to bring you down into the deepest, darkest depths of hell.
And it's aggression. It's a lot of people think it's hate. It's not. It's aggression.
If
anything.
It's aggression. It's letting out. Yeah, it's almost like this, trying to have this cathartic experience of letting out all your emotions and letting out all your anger and channeling it through music. And it speaks volumes to people. And I understand. I get it. Working at the aquarium, I've learned to appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm not putting it on anytime soon, but I definitely learned more about the music form through him. And he broke down a metal, like basically metal guitar piece for us on the show,
Oh,
and
cool.
showed like the layering that goes into it.
Interesting.
And I thought, oh, that's way more interesting. Now it sounds richer to me now that I know what went into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of craft in it. Yeah.
I'm also a big fan of Paul Anka when he does his covers of famous songs. Like his cover of Wonderwall is on point. It's wonderful, as well as Walking on Memphis. Because I think it's part of the beauty of music is that you could listen to a song that's the exact same lyrics, that has an entirely different intention, played in a different genre of music, and how people can take something. You think of a song that has been redone 10, 20 times and is a chart topper every time because they put a wonderful spin on it.
Yeah.
And so that's got to be a great compliment too when you find out like somebody has covered a song of yours or they like it enough that they want it to, they want their show to have that same sound and feel.
Maybe that's one of the signifiers as to why Bob Dylan belongs on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Because his music is covered and has been covered for just decades.
It's a true testament.
And my mom hates Bob Dylan, but then I had to show her, like, no, you actually like Bob Dylan. You just don't like it when he performs his songs.
Some people don't like the sound of his voice.
They don't.
Yeah.
It's a very polarizing voice sound, for
Yeah.
sure. And it's changed. So the voice is different at different eras. First, he sounded kind of like this. Then he did one like this for a period. I don't know what he was doing at that time, which sucked because his Johnny
the
Cash
Nashville Skyline.
collaborations were all what he was doing the Kermit the Frog voice, which I didn't quite care for.
I did a pretty amazing Bob Dylan impression in the Santaland Diaries
You
this
did.
last year.
That's
Got
true.
a big guy. It was a big hit every night.
I heard about that. That's cool.
Bob Dylan singing "Silent
Away in the Manger.
Away in the Manger.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And I had this way where I kind of like did a little dip like with my finger that people really it resonated with folks. Jesus laid down his sweet hand.
Dylan is another artist though too who his music is so good that when he performs live, he almost never performs a song the same way twice. It just doesn't.
Right.
I know.
Like Aretha Franklin, James Brown, wonderful musicians who could never, when they were both in the Blues Brothers, they had trouble because they said, well, we laid down a track for this, but I can't lip sync because I perform it differently every time, like depending on what's going on. And so that's why if you notice during like the Think number that Aretha Franklin does, they cut away from her an awful lot. And I think they had to add some choreography there. So they're like, well, we got to figure out other things to shoot while this song is going on.
Tom Waits is another one. Tom Waits,
Oh my
you can
God.
listen to, he'll perform a song 10 different times and you'll get 10 different songs out of it. And sometimes he doesn't use that voice.
He's just like he's funny.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He's just
I want
a
to know
character.
who inspired who. Is it Tom Waits inspired Ralph the dog from the Muppets, or Ralph the dog inspired Tom Waits? Have you ever seen them both in the same room?
I don't know.
Same person.
So, Diane, as we kind of wrap this thing up, where can people find you? Obviously, like they want to check out D Mills and the Thrills. Maybe they've never been to one of your shows before. Where can they find you on the internet?
You can. I have Instagram, DMills Fargo. I feel like I need to change that because I'm not in Fargo anymore. But
D Mills Maple Grove.
DMills Maple Grove.
I'll be performing at the place next to the Dave and Buster's all weekend.
D Mills Bloomington.
So DMills Fargo on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Diane Miller on Facebook, and then DMills and the Thrills is our Facebook handle.
How often are you performing?
It fluctuates. I have a show tonight in Minneapolis, but I'm just singing as a backup vocalist for a song with a band called Kiss a Tiger, who I'm going on tour with in May. So we're going to go to Philly, New York, Asheville.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm super excited. My first tour in on the East Coast. But yeah, it fluctuates. I don't know. Sometimes there'll be like 2 weeks that go by that I don't perform, and then some weeks I'll have like 3 shows. So
just stay up to date and don't miss a chance.
yes, I'm
Check it
always
out.
posting on my Facebook or social media of sorts of when I'm performing. And yes, please come. I love, it's fun.
Check out the show. Tell her that you heard about it on JJ Meets World.
Yes.
And then I guess so we'll catch up with you again down the line, and we want to know who the other 2 faces would be on your
that's
musical Mount
right.
Rushmore.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you don't have them today, you can always return with those.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
In fact, I'm sure
Now I
the
wanna-
faces might
It's a
I
good
want
change.
to add one.
Do it. We'll make it a 5-header if you want. We're not going to go past 5.
That's
but for D-Mills, we're gonna do that.
You guys, I love James Mercer of the Shins.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's their music I can listen to over and over again.
You said Patsy Cline, right? You like
Patsy?
would she be up there?
Easily Patsy Cline.
Phaedra is a big Patsy Cline fan too, or previous
guest Phaedra Juncker.
That's right, yeah.
But but Tribe Called Quest would probably be up there as well, as far as like hip hop. B.I.G. Jay-Z is huge for me. Was huge for me. I guess I don't listen to him as much as I used to, but right now, Lauryn Hill.
Oh.
How could I not say Lauryn Hill?
Yeah.
Gosh. Sister Act 2, Lauryn Hill? Come on.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
If you're going to be
What?
somebody,
Absolutely.
if you're going to go somewhere.
You got to wake up and pay attention.
Do
You guys!
you do a cover?
guys
Do you do a
good.
cover
I
of that
love
during
this.
your show? Because if not, you should.
Just put on a quick habit, just the top.
No. She wasn't a nun in the Sister Act 2.
No, I
She's
know,
a
but
student.
Still reference Sister Act 2.
No. If you're gonna, then you got to throw on
Pageantry,
overalls.
JJ. Pageantry.
I know, but if you're gonna play
Yes.
the Lauryn Hill character, you got to throw on those overalls, and then like the really bright T-shirt.
I
Come on
gotta
out.
get the braids. That's what
There's a lot. There's a lot. I believe that was Jennifer Love Hewitt's first film role.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, Jennifer Love Hewitt's in that one?
Yeah, she's one of the students.
those singers. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, funny.
I just
Hey,
know-
let's all go watch Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit.
I've already seen it. Like maybe
Today?
a month ago. Isn't that funny?
Well, once
me
we
and
do
my
our Nutty
roommates,
Professor 2 commentary, then we can go to
That's a
Sister
good
Act.
idea.
And then once we do Sister Act 2, let's bring Diane in to do that with us.
I might. We've got a podcast episode coming up where I'm pitching sequels that no one ever really thought were going to be there, and I have an idea for a Sister Act 3 sequel that will be
Yeah.
included with it. So
The
that's
third act?
in the world to be the third movement. Because it's it's got a music theme,
Right.
So here's the deal: that's what they call a tease in the radio industry. So now that I've appropriately teased you to listen to another episode, start this one over again and listen to the insight of Diane Miller. Thank you so much for being here,
Gosh,
Diane.
what a pleasure, you guys. This was a lot of fun.
You're the bee's knees.
Oh, you're the knees bees.
A huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring this podcast. Folks, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, contact Natalie Deutsch today because Natalie Deutsch is not only a previous podcast guest, she's somebody who's going to care enough to sell your property for top dollar. She's also going to find you the best price possible if you're purchasing a new home. Last year on average, Natalie earned her clients $4,000 over list price on their homes and sold them faster than the market average. On average, Natalie's selling a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Those numbers don't lie. Find out why Natalie is one of the top agents in this entire market. Get a hold of her today, Natalie at hatchrealtyfm.com. You can also call 701-388-9338 or go on to livefargomorehead.com. That's livefargomorehead.com. Read all of her amazing reviews, and then listen to her episode of JJ Meets World. Thanks again to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com, and you can find direct contact info for JJ. I wrote a freestyle rap. Would you like to hear it? Okay, never mind.